Beijing, China. It's just after nightfall in the year 1908. A mysterious group leaves the Forbidden City. Servants, mounted imperial guards, the palace chamberlain. It's an official escort plus security detail. But they're not taking someone out of the city. They're on a mission to bring someone back. They travel north until they arrive at a red-gated mansion, the home of Prince Chun. He is not expecting visitors, but the imperial procession is not here for him. They're looking for his 2-year-old son. The little boy is afraid of the strangers and hides in a cupboard. The servants try to pull him out and carry him away, but the boy resists. He screams, he sobs, he scratches and wails. When they finally manage to calm him down, they take him back to the Forbidden City. This little 2-year-old boy was just chosen to rule China. His name is Puyi. Puyi is going to be the next emperor of the Qing dynasty, and the Chinese people will regard him as a living god. Based on the find the link in the description. Find the link in the description. It's Puyi's call, and the boy can't take it anymore. For what seems like an eternity, they paraded before him. Strange men speaking strange words, ministers, palace guard officers, other officials. They approach and perform a ritual bow, kneeling 3 times and touching their heads against the ground 9 times. A kowtow. Each man pledges his allegiance, words that mean nothing to the young boy. To the 2-year-old, it's incomprehensible and frightening. The one person who could soothe him, who would calm him down and make him feel safe, isn't there. His wet nurse. Puyi is not allowed to see his mother, and Nurse Wang is her replacement. She plays with him, breastfeeds him, sleeps next to him. She's his main comfort and favorite companion, but she has been excluded from the ceremony. Puyi begins to fidget. Also, he's cold. The hall is freezing. He tells his father, Prince Chun, that he wants to go home. Then he starts crying. Prince Chun is desperate. No occasion could be more important than this. It must go well. He tries to soothe his son, saying that it'll be over soon. Those words may have comforted Puyi. To the palace staff who overhear them, though, they sound like a grim prophecy, not only about the emperor's reign, but about the fate of the Qing dynasty itself. The Qing dynasty began in 1644 after a minority ethnic group, the Manchu people, overthrew the majority ethnic group, the Han people. At its peak in 1790, the Qings were the 4th largest dynasty of all time. At the time of Puyi's coronation, China had more citizens than any other country. When the boy took the throne, he became the ruler of nearly a third of the world's population. China has been ruled by dynasties for more than 2,000 years, and the power of the emperor has remained unchanged since then. On paper, it was virtually limitless. The Qing emperor was arguably the most powerful human being on Earth. But actually, China and its dynasty have been in decline for a long time. A series of internal power struggles have weakened the position of the emperor, leading to this one seemingly bizarre moment. But in fact, Puyi was not selected as emperor in spite of his age, but because of it. This is Tzu, also known as the Dragon Lady. As a teenager, she was chosen to be a concubine of the emperor. After his death, she seized control of the empire and effectively ruled China for nearly 50 years as Empress Dowager. To maintain her power, she installed underage boys as puppet emperors. But as the last of them grew older, tensions arose. Now he is very ill. Tzu knows he'll soon be dead. She is willing to do anything to hold on to power. After losing a war against Japan, China was in heavy debt. As a partial payment, Tzu allows foreign forces to claim territory and valuable resources. China is weakened, the population oppressed. In the Forbidden City, a place of intrigue and conspiracy, Tzu is under massive pressure. Her health has been deteriorating. She urgently needs a new puppet. Technically, as long as Puyi is still underage, his father, Prince Chun, will be regent. He himself is loyal to Tzu. He's also incompetent, unlikely to outshine her. Exactly what she needs. After little Puyi has been seized from his home, everything seemed to be working out for her. The day after, as expected, her previous puppet emperor died. He was poisoned. But before Tzu can make her next moves, she too dies, and a 2-year-old sits on the throne. Of course, all of this is lost on Puyi. All he knows is that some important-looking people took him away from his mom, put him in a fancy robe, and are doing all sorts of strange things in front of him now. The reason is that he's no longer considered an ordinary toddler. From now on, to everyone he encounters, he is a living god. 3 years later, Puyi is 5 years old now, and this is what a typical day of his might have looked like. He opens his eyes. He is on a massive kang, the platform bed where he sleeps every night, snuggled against Nurse Wang. Puyi must get dressed. Custom dictates that the clothes he wears must never have been worn before. Yesterday's outfit, a silk tunic, padded waistcoat, sable jacket, and fur-lined coat, has already been disposed of. Of course, he's not going to dress himself. As with everything, the eunuchs will take care of it. They are his servants. If you want to serve in the imperial court of the Qing dynasty, you have to become a eunuch. That means you have to cut off your penis, scrotum, and testicles. It would guarantee that the emperor is the only fertile man in the palace. Therefore, every child that was born here had to be his. Like all male Qing subjects, eunuchs wear a queue. Only a particular kind of eunuch, eunuchs of the imperial presence, were allowed to look at Puyi. All others had to look at the ground or turn away. They had no beards, their heads were bowed, their voices were high, since most had been castrated before puberty. Since tradition dictated a person couldn't reach heaven if they weren't buried whole, the eunuchs carried their removed genitals at all times, in little jars filled with salt water. The emperor is hungry. At a signal, the eunuchs will immediately prepare a huge buffet for him. Now, like every other day, he must pay a visit to the eastern palaces. Here his other mothers live, 5 women who were either married to or concubines of the 2 previous emperors. To get to the eastern palaces, Puyi must take a walk through the city, again accompanied by the eunuchs. Wherever Puyi goes, dozens of eunuchs accompany him. One walks 30 yards in front, warning people to make way. Then come 2 chief eunuchs, walking on either side of the path. Then, about 2 feet behind, the center of the procession, Puyi himself. He is walking, and 2 junior eunuchs attend him on either side. Then come eunuchs of the imperial presence, carrying clothing, parasols, a canopy. Then more eunuchs still, carrying boxes of cakes and delicacies. Then eunuchs of the imperial dispensary, and finally, at the rear, eunuchs carrying chamber pots and commodes. If, along the way, Puyi realizes he needs to use the toilet, the eunuchs will be there, rushing forward with a chamber pot, and then rushing away with it to inspect the outcome. Puyi arrives. According to ritual, each mother asks after Puyi's health, but whether they care is less clear. Wang Yu, for her part, believes little boys should be kept in good health by half-starving them. She holds considerable power over Puyi. She is the widow of Guangxu, Puyi's poisoned predecessor. She is Prince Chun's co-regent. In a few years, she will banish Puyi's beloved Nurse Wang, not even allowing her to say goodbye. Though Puyi hates all of his mothers, he has a special hatred for Wang Yu. On the way back, Puyi is in a bad mood. Suddenly, he makes a decision. 2 of the eunuchs offended him. It's not clear how, but either way, he wants them to be flogged. The 2 offending eunuchs are made to expose their bottoms. 2 other eunuchs come forward, holding sticks. The eunuchs are beaten on the spot. Puyi watches, and there's delight in his eyes. Back at the Hall of Supreme Harmony, he listens as court officials drone on and on. They speak of matters of state, providing information incomprehensible to the little boy. They come with documents, each requiring the seal of the emperor. He applies the seal again and again and again, under the supervision of his tutors and the palace chamberlain. It's bewildering and terribly boring. As regent, Prince Jun holds the real power and makes the real decisions. But the seal must be applied by the hand of the emperor. At last, after hours of talk and ceremony, Puyi is free. He wants to be entertained. There's no real friend to play with, but the eunuchs are not only his servants, but also his entertainers. One of his favorite eunuchs puts on a puppet show. Puyi loves it, and he comes up with an idea. He wants to reward the puppet master with a cake. But before presenting the gift, he asks Nurse Wang to fill it with sharp pieces of metal. He tells her that he wants to see what the eunuch looks like when he eats it. Wang manages to convince him to fill the cake with dried beans instead. Now, Puyi asks for his air gun. He's looking for a practice target, and chooses the eunuchs. But shooting eunuchs is only fun for so long. He's bored again. Feels safest, curled up in the arms of Nurse Wang. Sometimes he still misses his biological mother, but his memory of her is already hazy. He won't be allowed to see her again until he is 13. Puyi lives an isolated life. He has no idea that beyond the walls of the Forbidden City, the country which he is technically the emperor of, is in turmoil. It's October 1911. In Wuchang, a group of soldiers mutiny, turning against their corrupt generals. This uprising soon spreads all over the country and turns into a full-blown rebellion against the dynasty. The Chinese people are fed up. 4 wars and increasing Western incursions have decreased China's territory, and the majority Han population has been sick of Manchu rule for centuries. The people begin to dream of a more unified republic. Then the imperial army flips, siding with the rebels, leaving the dynasty without military defense. By February 1912, Prince Chun has renounced his position as regent. Empress Dowager Longyu also steps down and agrees to Puyi's abdication. And just like that, the end of Puyi's reign. Not entirely. For the majority of the traditional Chinese population, the idea of a country without a monarch is odd. Abolishing the dynasty entirely is unthinkable. So the new rulers negotiate an agreement with the old monarchs. Puyi would be allowed to live on in the Forbidden City with his servants and personal fortune, plus an annual allowance of roughly $3.4 million in today's money. Even though Puyi officially abdicated the throne, he continues to sit on it, and he continues to put the imperial seal upon court documents. But now these documents concern insignificant matters: staff promotions, the transplantation of trees, when the eunuchs should change their uniforms. The Forbidden City has become a place of make-believe, and it begins to feel like a golden cage, one that Puyi will want to break out of very soon. Eight years later, a well-dressed British gentleman enters the Forbidden City. He will bring chaos to the divine palaces. His name is Reginald Johnston. Johnston is a respected Chinese linguist, a poet and calligraphist. Now he will be the English teacher of China's emperor. But Johnston begins to secretly teach Puyi Western history and philosophy. Up until this point, the young emperor only studied Chinese classics, but under Johnston's influence, Puyi falls in love with British culture, and he starts to change. Normally, all male subjects of the Qing dynasty were required to wear a queue, but soon Puyi will just cut his off, a major offense to the tradition. He begins to dress like an English gentleman instead. He starts speaking a mix of English and Chinese, and from now on, he will call himself Henry. Puyi also wears glasses, which the dowager consorts will not approve of. He will ride a bike through the Forbidden City and fall in love with movies. But most of all, he will become obsessed with a strange new invention from the West, the telephone. He makes calls to people in Beijing and hangs up before announcing who it is. One time, he orders a meal to a false address, likely the first royal prank call in history. Puyi increasingly gets an idea of what the outside world might actually look like, and everything he's missing out on. He announces that once he's old enough, he wants to leave the country and study at Oxford, just like his teacher. On June 3, 1922, he tries to make this dream come true. He asks Reginald Johnston to sneak him out of the Forbidden City. But Johnston, the man who planted all these dreams in Puyi's head, refuses. If Puyi were to leave, Johnston would lose his position, with all its perks and status. Puyi has no one else to help him escape, and though he doesn't fully realize it yet, he's being entrapped even further. The dowager consorts, who also depend on him for their livelihood, have figured out a way to make escape impossible. Puyi faces a decision. He must choose a bride. His only guide, these 4 photographs, selected by the dowager consorts. He is 16 years